Well, Pamela Travers, you can't imagine how excited I am to finally meet you.
Would you mind? My name is Mrs. Travers, Mr. Disney.
Oh, Walt, now you gotta call me Walt. 20 years ago, I made a promise to my daughters that I would make your Mary Poppins fly off the pages of your books. I promised them, Pam.
I know what he's going to do to her. She'll be cavorting and twinkling.
He can't make the film unless you grant the rights.
Damn.
She was actually perfectly willing for the film to be made as long as it was made entirely on her terms. What she didn't understand, that was simply not possible. She didn't understand the collaborative nature of film. She didn't understand film at all. Film was not in her purview. She would have gone to the theatre, she would have gone to the ballet, to the opera. Film she would have rather looked down upon. She was very intellectually snobby. And it just didn't fit into her. Even though film's one of the greatest mythologizing forces of the 20th century, she would not have recognized it quite as such. Now, let us begin.
She has a lot of ideas.
What kind of ideas?
Constable's responsible. Now, how does that sound?
No. Responsible is not a word.
Why does Walt want to make the film? Is it really a promise to his kids, or is it that he sees a money spinner on the horizon?
I think he was capable of both thoughts. I don't think there's any doubt that, we know that he made a promise to his daughters. We also know that, at some point it'd be pretty easy to say, look, I tried, I couldn't get it. Still love you. But I think he saw the commercial potential, absolutely. He wouldn't have chased it for 20 years but for that.
I do think that one can't place too much emphasis on the fact that it was money. You say, well, it's not just that, but actually sometimes it is just that. If you think about what many women are forced to do in order just to get enough money to live on, it makes your eyes bleed.
Yeah, but Walt is supposed to have persuaded her of something. What is that?
Well, he persuaded her he wasn't going to turn it into a cartoon. He wasn't going to have any cartoons in it. He agreed to most of her stipulations. That's what happened. She said, you're not to do this, you're not to do that. He said, okay. And then he did it. He put cartoons in.
PL Travers right here in my office. After all these years, almost 20 of them?
Yes.
20 long years. I wish you could have seen me then, Pam. Lean as a whippet I was. A racehorse. Well, anyway. Now here you are, and look at you. Oh, I could just eat you up.
That wouldn't be appropriate.
How would you describe her relationship with Walt? I mean, is there any sort of hint of romance there?
No, but there's eros, I would say. There is the male and the female principal meeting, certainly, and that inside there's the possibility, not of romance, that's a whole other thing, but the word eros, meaning this connection between the male and the female, is definitely there and was definitely something I wanted to include. And it's not an erotic thing, it's eros. It's the male-female connection that occurs between most men and women. And I didn't want it just not to be there, for there to be not any kind of, not sexual possibility. That's too much. It's too much to say that. It's just a response, the natural response of two people who were both very powerful and both very brilliant artists.
Mary Poppins and the Bankses, they're family to me.
Mary Poppins was a real person, so it's not the children she comes to save. It's their father. It's your father.
Everyone's got something about their dads or their mums. I mean, they're not neutral relationships, are they? I mean, it's not like saying how weird that you would have something about, your boss or your father is someone loaded with meaning, at the very least. Whether that meaning is good or bad is the question, and is the shaping force behind your character, that part of your character, the animus, the male part of your character, if you're male or you're female, it doesn't matter. That your father is hugely, hugely important. So for her, it was rather classic in the sense that she adored him, absolutely adored him, and he was an alcoholic. And alcoholics damage people.
Do you think characters like Travers really ought to be able to ditch addictions?
It was a different time, the chapter of the story that I'm in, that is set around the family, it was 1907. So, 1907, the outback of Australia, most parts of the world, they weren't really big on support groups. And intervention, you know, was something you did if the barman was about to close the bar and you wanted to get a last order in, not something that you did to help somebody get their lives together. So it was, you know, at that stage, 1907, you know, it was about sucking it in and getting on with it. You know, the idea of an emotional life even for a man was something that would have been deemed as ridiculous and completely inappropriate to praise.
How do you think he still manages to inspire so much love in Pamela?
He's got a big heart. He's got a big heart, albeit one with a very definite fissure in it. And he is somebody who operates from the kind of beautiful wellspring of the imagination, which is, of course, very inspiring for a child to be around. So she sees the best in him.
From a child standpoint, and maybe the child in an adult PL, it's like, well, how can I change the ending away from the reality to make it something that's better for me? I wouldn't propose to be in PL Travers' head. She's, you know, a far greater writer, but that's a good what if. I mean, it's like, I'm going to give this a happy ending, and maybe that is a little fluffy, and maybe it's not the reality of it. But I think that when you look at Walt Disney too, in terms of these origin stories and what they become, maybe it is important to end, you know, with an uptick or an uplift.
I swear, every time a person walks into a movie house, they will rejoice. Don't you want to finish the story?